Hey crew, welcome back to another Spraycasso tutorial. So in today's tutorial, you guys have seen me do a couple of them. So we did these two, right? These last few weeks we've done these two. So now let me do a close-up here of some of these. So now we're going to move on to our next painting. So these packages come with 10 sheets. So we're just going to open one of these guys and just take one out. That will be our next tutorial right here. What is it that we're going to paint today? You know what? I'm not sure. We will play it by ear. I think I want to do a black and white. Hey guys. See, we got a couple of watchers. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me move this away, maybe right about here. We're just going to do a quick black and white one. Hey Tyler, what you doing, brother? Hey Daniel. So we're going to take our Spraycasso black. You know what I like about black and white paintings? Well, they're very, very easy to create. They come out with a lot of great depth to them, which is something that I've always enjoyed. So we're going to work on the sky layer first. Very simple. Couple of sprays back and forth. Look at that. There you go. Voila, we have a sky. Alright, so next, we're going to use my handy dandy. Oh, I say that and now I can't find it. Oh, come on. Well, we might have to do this the hard way and use a magazine sheet, because I can't find my tool anywhere. You guys ever do that? You start cleaning up. You clean up so good, you put everything away, and then you can't find anything afterwards. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, let me go grab a magazine sheet. And that's what we will use instead of my spatula. Oh, for crying out loud. You guys would swear I am not ready for this. All right, here we go. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to use a magazine sheet rather than the spatula that I always use, which is a rubber tip Spraycasso tool that I had specifically made for occasions like this. All right, so we're going to use our black. We're just going to spray a little bit here. We're going to use a piece of the magazine. I'm just going to tear off a piece. All right, and we're going to start creating our terrain. Check out how easy it is. You just tap and smear downwards. And this is how we're going to start creating our terrain. Maybe maybe just a little bit up here. Tap, tap, tap. How's everybody been? You know, I got a little bored this last few days, so I started detailing the cars. I was helping my son with his, and then I moved on to the truck, and good Lord, I mean, it's that boring to where cleaning cars is the thing to do. All right, I'm just gonna add a little here. So the thing that as you can see, it works pretty good. It gives you a nice little terrain. The only problem that I have with it is how fast, I mean, once you dab it into it, how fast your paint kind of runs out, and you have to keep tapping in and back and forth. Kind of seems like the rubber tip tools kind of help that out a little bit. Just gonna do this right here. I'm not sure exactly how I want this to come out. I know I've gotten several, well, in fact, since I have you guys, what do you guys think? Should we do a nice little waterfall coming down? Do you guys even want to see anything with water? You guys have any ideas? We're going to keep adding some textures here. Very easy to do. See, now we have some terrain. So what this is going to be... Oh, hold on. I see Tyler said something here. Color-coded all my cans. Oh, yeah. Color-coding your cans. Definitely big helper. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the wrong color because of that. All right, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of white. We're gonna take our white. Now we're gonna shake and pre-spray Make sure we get the best quality of paint. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit of a fading effect. On black and whites, you want to use white. All right. Just do this. I'm gonna add a little more black. This I'm using as a palette at this point. Tap into this. Tap here. And this will give us another layer of terrain. Look at that. Bringing it closer, bringing it home, which means literally bringing it closer to the viewer. Maybe some right here. Now, with this technique, you can actually get very complex textures, because once you start adding multi-layers to your painting, you can really stack up on the depth of your painting. Just gonna add a little bit more here. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of clear coat on this bottom part and some right here in the middle. So with my hands, I'm gonna create some of this textured water here and here. Come across, tap, tap, tap. I'm just gonna smear on the edges here. Now, notice what we've done here. We've created some reflections. And that will just make your painting more realistic. Now, realism, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of tend to stray away from realism. Though I do strive for it, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I use these very mystical colors, right? All these purples and yellows, and I tend to blend them together. So it's up to you, really, the artist, as to how far you want to take it, how realistic you want to invest in your painting and make it look like. See, here we added some terrain. We added a light sky layer in the background. Then we added a little bit of clear coat and kind of merged those colors together to create this nice little effect that we have here. Now, the water is not completely done. We can still definitely add some white highlights to it. But I'm going to add a little more terrain. And notice how I'm stacking it up here. We can add maybe another one right here. Gotta tell you, though it's working out really great, I am missing my spatula. I don't know what I did with it. I had it here. And don't get me wrong, I have a little cabinet here with at least a good 100 of them, but I don't want to go looking for it. Alright, just gonna blend this in here. Now notice I'm using the edge of my magazine here. Okay, now we're gonna do the same technique that we did earlier down here on the bottom, and it's pretty dry, but you notice how we have a little bit of that black that we did for our background mist, our background layer. With clear coat and your fingertips, look at the effect that you create. I'm just gonna come through here, hold this painting so it doesn't move. I'm just gonna go back and forth a few times. Now I do have a piece of cloth here. Just clean your fingers. Now guys, use gloves if you don't feel comfortable using your hands, because I've gotten a lot of emails about that. You can definitely use latex gloves or any kind of PPE protection that you may have. I'm gonna tap this right here. Okay, now then, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of the layers. Now that we've created a nice little rough terrain, some of the layers that I'd like to concentrate on at this point is maybe a tree. You guys remember this little funnel? Very easy to create. All right. So all the paint is being held in here. All right, so I'm just gonna tap here, tap, tap, tap. Maybe we can add another one right up here. Let me, I was cleaning my table last night, so it's not quite even here, I'm noticing. And you want your table to be quite flat when you're doing this. Just gonna add another branch up here. Now, how thick you make your trees, well, that's on you. You don't want to make them too thick, especially if they're in the background. If they're closer to you, you can do that. You can make them pretty thick. I like to keep them kind of skinny here, especially when they're off in the background. And the further in the background, the thinner the trees I will create. Oh, I'm running out. Let's add a little bit more. I'm thinking I'd like to add maybe one right here, and this one's going to be thicker. So I'm going to go over it a few times, just like that. I'll make a thicker one right here too. Now what I like to do as well is I use the tip, the end of the funnel here, to make them thicker. So it doesn't always is a straight paint coming out. It's sometimes me pushing down on this, creating that thicker effect on the painting, on the poster board. So practice with it, like any tool. You get better at it. Alright, so we're adding our layers. I'm going to add a thinner tree right here. Now notice how you can actually create pretty thin trees too if you need to. And again, that's just, you'll learn how to tilt the funnel to give you those really fine lines that come out at the end, or thicker lines. Alright, I'm going to create a little branch coming out right there. Maybe one right here. Alright, so starting to come out, huh? Starting to take shape. Now this is supposed to be a simple painting, guys. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time. I know in the last tutorial I had a great time, but I know that you guys got things to do and we didn't really plan for it, so I'll try not to take too much of your time. We'll do a little sea sponge. Just like that. Now what I like to do too with sea sponges is I like to practice. So I get a piece of magazine or somewhere else and I just kind of get a look and a feel for the pattern. And you know what? This is not going to be bad. Because the pattern that I'm hoping to do is just this random tree leaves here in the background. See that? And I think that's perfect for this. Now if it becomes too much of a pattern, you might want to start rotating the sponge too. So this is something that if you're spray painting live, this is something that you can definitely do. You see it's really quick. I'm taking my time. I'm definitely talking to you guys, kind of explaining some of the techniques and whatnot. But if you're spray painting live, time is of the essence. You can definitely create a nice little landscape, black and white one like this. You don't have to go into the great details in that. some of the grass strands or anything like that, but just talking about it kind of reminded me that I would like to add some grass strands. So just kind of overlapping some of our previously added layers. Very easy to do. And it's just quick strokes upwards. And it just adds so much detail to your paintings. I'm just going to tap up here. Can I add some more of those tree leaves? Tap, 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 tap. Okay, I'm going to overlap some tree leaves right here on the side. So I've seen a lot of you guys exploring different techniques out there, and you know, I think that's great. I think that's the only way, guys, we'll ever develop our art style in different manners. It's by trying different techniques. I'm gonna create a little bit of like little plants here. I'm just using the same sea sponge that I used to create the tree leaves. So you guys don't have to definitely change sponges quite often. And you just tilt it to a different side and perhaps create different textures. Look at that. I like how this is turning out. What do you guys think? Alright, I think we've used our sea sponge enough. Usually I like to use like every bit of it. I'll flip it this way and try it this way. But I've got plenty of them here. Little pieces of past used ones. This might work. This might work. So I just cut off the paint. Let's see. You know, I want to add a nice little terrain here on the bottom. So we're going to do the same technique that we did up above. But we're going to use a magazine sheet. So I'm just going to tear off another piece of magazine. Maybe even fold it. We're going to tap into our black. You know, I like that. I like the way that's turning out. So I'm just gonna concentrate a little bit more right here. A little bit of clear coat. I'm gonna use my hands. Oh, not enough clear coat. Okay. Ah, there we go. Just gonna create those blending waves. Perfect, perfect. What is this? Oh. Okay. Well, I really like the way this is coming out. What do you guys think? Any ideas, suggestions? I think I'm gonna add some grass strands here on the bottom. I'm just gonna use this piece of sea sponge that we just got from the scrap pile. And I'm just going to make some overlapping grass strands. Now doesn't that just add to the realism of it? It really does. Now there are certain areas like right here that it's a very defined sharp curve. I usually like to kind of break that up a little bit as well, so it's not so straight. That's just a preference. It's not like you have to, it's just a preference. I like to break the straight lines. It gives you more of a rugged terrain at the end. Right there. All right. So because of certain natural highlights that we got to create on this painting, you can see it kind of seems like the light is coming from this end this way. I wasn't really planning on doing something like that, but now that we do have a light source, I think that's how I want to concentrate the lights. So let's do that. I'm going to use a little bit of white. Now I've already shaken and pre-shaken and pre-sprayed the white. So now I'm going to use a magazine sheet, maybe one that we haven't used. Oh, like this one. I'm going to tear off a piece. Smaller piece. Tap, 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 tap. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to add certain little highlights in the water. Now, I don't know if the camera is capturing it, but you want to make them kind of thin. I say that and then I accidentally smeared a bunch of it right there. Well, if that happens, a little bit of clear coat, and we can smear that away, kind of blend it into the background. All right. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Look at that. Found one of my soft tip tools. So I'm concentrating the line on this aspect, the light. So I'm going to add a little bit of white on the side of these trees. And that'll give us the effect that light is coming in from this area. I'm just going to work the white into the back of the trees. Maybe some right here. And I'm gonna create like a marble effect as I work the white into the tree right here. And I'll show you what I mean about the marble effect, because it's still wet. I mean, it's still very much, there's still very much paint into that. So that's what I mean about the marble effect. Take a look at that. Now it gives it a very realistic looking feel and bark effect to your trees. And it's not very hard to do. You can see. It was very easy. It was just a couple of strokes. Maybe we can add I want to add a little bit more highlights in the water here. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just tapping into some white. Here on the edges. Oh. Sorry, my phone was ringing. I have a friend that calls at the wrong time every time. Like every time, guys. Like I'm not even kidding. I'd have all damn day, but he'll call when I'm making a video. Sambo, if you're watching this, you know it's you. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit of white here on these edges, and I'm gonna just add a few little streaks of white right there. Now see what I've done there is I've given this painting a nice little reflection effect because of the water, but it's not too much either. It's not like it's overpowering. Now you can add maybe a few more up here because this is the distance. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of clear coat. In fact, you know what? Let me just add some clear coat on the entire painting. I like to do that every once in a while, every like 3 or 4 layers. I'll add a nice coat of clear coat, not for the glossiness, but because it helps blend the paints together. So some of these items will blend much better if you do it this way. After a couple of layers that you've added, you add your clear coat, some of these items begin to blend, including the water. The water begins to create more realistic effects. So now that we have added a clear coat, we actually kind of have to wait a little bit for it to dry. You do not want to add any layers while you have a clear coat. But gives us a good opportunity to take a good look at our painting so far and some of the details that we've created. All right, group. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. This is a very basic way of creating a black and white. As you can see, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's very simple to do. I did it with a magazine sheet. I didn't even use my tools. I did a magazine sheet. Yeah, I did use one of my tools to create the finer effects in the water, but yeah, you don't need to use that. All right, I'm gonna wait for it to dry, and then I'm gonna add a couple of layers, and then I'll post the finished product on Facebook. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. Thank you for the likes, really appreciate it, guys. All right, well, stay tuned. We'll make another one maybe tomorrow. All right, guys, until next time, keep those cans shaking. We'll see you soon.